Greetings, I'm Dr. Al Freeman, Director of LCMS School Ministry, and we're very excited to be hosting Principal John Jacob with us today to talk about Genesis study and, most importantly in this process, John going through the Genesis study to start a high school. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that Genesis, how it got to be, hey, start a school. And once you hear those words, you know, the angst with that, and now what? You know, now what do you do? And kind of the process in the next steps.
Okay, yeah. So as Dr. Freeman said, we did the Genesis project, and it was very illuminating to us. It was a very worthwhile undertaking. It was painful sometimes, but we certainly came out better for that. One of the things I want to put out there about the Genesis project, what it really helped us to do was we were heading down a path, and some enough questions. While there was a lot of support for starting a high school, there was a lot of concerns about how quickly we could do it. Okay. And it really kind of helped us pump the brakes for a second, took a step back, reanalyze the direction we were heading, and kind of go in a different direction. So where we changed strategy a little bit, because I personally feel it's important to strike while the iron's hot, and we had a lot of passionate people ready to go, we actually made a proposal to the congregation that instead of asking for the permanent high school to be established, we asked for the permission to do a pilot program.
Tell me about that pilot program, John. That's really fascinating to say, well, let's start a pilot program. What did that look like?
It was just bringing in students, establishing curriculum, establishing teachers, and asking families to be a part of this high school with the understanding that a year from now it might not be in existence if the voters don't vote for it.
So how many families were a part of that pilot program? And really it takes passionate families, it takes the cutting edge ones, and the students too, right? I mean, as a student going in, you have to know, look, this won't be the high school experience that we think about or see out there elsewhere, but it will be a good high school experience.
I might have told you this the first time we talked. My unofficial slogan for the high school is Bethel Lutheran High School, we're not for everybody. Because we know we can't offer all of the extracurriculars and the big facilities and all the things you think about when you think about a traditional high school. But there's enough people looking for something different for their kids that those things are still relatively unimportant on the grand scale of things. They want their kids to have an outstanding education, which I'm confident we offer, and we want it to be biblically based, which for sure we do. And we were definitely able to guarantee those two things. And that was what held me back for years, because this is my 18th year as principal, and probably for the last 15 years, people have been asking, why don't we start a high school? And I didn't even give reasons. I just said, no, we're not going to do it. We can't do it, because I had in my mind what a high school should be from, the high school in town and other places. But, not everybody is seeking that kind of experience. There are those who don't mind the small class sizes. They don't mind the lack of organized sports to a point. But they realize there's a lot of things we can do as a small high school as well.
I think that is a great phrase too. Be who you are.
Right.
So you didn't try to sell anything that you were not or not capable of doing. So you knew who you were or who you are. You told people who you are. And you told them also, this is what we're offering. We're offering Christ-centered education, faith throughout, a solid curriculum. You won't have necessarily all the bells and whistles. There won't be a ton of AP courses or all these things that you might think about as a high school experience that's out there and promoted. But you're going to have a high school experience, a very unique one and a rich one based on who you are.
Exactly what's happening. And so we went through the pilot year. We delivered on what we said. And then 1 year after, I think it was a vote of 82-3 that our congregation voted to establish this as a full 4-year high school, because they saw the benefit in it. They saw what was happening. They already saw, I think one thing people really desire for their kids is to not be afraid to try things and to be leaders. We don't like to see our kids following the latest trend or whatever. So we actually have classes in leadership. We do leadership projects, servant events, things like that. We're able to offer really unique field trips for like hands-on look at vocations. 1 year, just last year in the pilot year, we took our kids. Some of you city people might not know what this is, but we took the kids to an auction barn where they auction off livestock. And so that was a really intercurricular activity where we talked about finance, we talked about biology and genetics and management, things like that. So we were able to do several different curricular aspects with taking an animal to the auction barn. So then they went there and actually saw it happening in person. Those are kind of things that you can do when you're smaller and you can adapt pretty quickly and get kids around pretty easily.
Yeah, what a rich experience, right? And you said it too, right there at the end, opportunity. You know, you take a look at the opportunity that you can offer when you are a small school and, you know, across grades as well, and all the projects that you can do, experiential learning that you can do. You can go to an auction barn. You can go and incorporate field trips and leadership courses. I know that you do a very unique leadership experience for the students as well. So the first year, how many students, and then how many year two, and now where are you in number of years and number of students?
Yeah, so last year we had actually 7 or 8 students that came to our high school as freshmen. So we agreed to do 1 grade a year. Okay, so last year we had 8 freshmen. This year that translated into 8 sophomores, and we have 4 freshmen this year. We started out with 5, but 1 elected to go back to homeschooling. So we have 12 students total, and which sounds really small, but that's actually beyond our break-even point. We have budgeted for 5 students a year to come in. So after year 4, we would love to have 20 kids, freshman through senior, and we have budgeted for that. And those are attainable numbers that we can make the high school work from.
Which, again, I think is a great point. Attainable numbers, right? So you're looking for attainable numbers. You're not for everyone, so you know you're not going to get 100 students right away. So you're very realistic of bringing in, you know, a lot of times in Genesis study we say first year, you know, it might be 5, 7, 12 students. Don't expect 25, don't expect 50. Be realistic and plan that experience for them. And, you know, concentrate on retention. Also, you mentioned that the finances, the business plan. Tell us a little bit about that business plan, making sure financially you were sound to start with 5 to 7 students.
Right. Well, so you start with how many students you're budgeting for, what the income will be off of that, and then you figure out what you can afford from that. Okay. So that you kind of work backwards in figuring out your business model. What's the cost of textbooks? What's the cost of curriculum? What's the cost of a teacher? Those kind of things. What about facilities? What do you need to do for that? But so we budgeted that, but we had some very, very generous donations because people got so behind this idea that with our current projections, we probably have a surplus now for up to 10 years worth of education in our high school. Because if you're showing your value to the congregation and you're showing your value to the community, people want to get behind that. If you're showing how you can make the experience better for your community, for your congregation, how you're raising up Christian leaders, that is a big selling point that people want to get behind.
Yeah, and you did a great job of selling that vision, and God richly bless everything you're doing. And I'll go back to where you were saying for 13 plus years, no, we can't have a high school. And then all of a sudden, that turning point of, okay, we'll start a high school, but it won't work, and all the reasons why it won't work, and then realizing, hey, 5 to 7, that's an outstanding number, or 8, and now we have 8 as sophomores. We have 4 that are there as freshmen, and look, we have 12 students in our high school immersed in the Word each and every day, and immersed in the Word in the curriculum on everything that we do, and they will be going on to become the next generation of Christian leaders as you put them out there and continue to grow this program. And tell us, how did that connection go with the congregation? Because you're going from, no, this will never work, to, okay, we're going to try it. And just one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard, too. You are the best fundraiser without trying to get anybody to give money. I mean, you just do it with the passion and tap in to the desire of people to see a faith-based education in a Lutheran school like this. How did the congregation get behind this?
Now that we're growing and we can see, maybe, because the room we have our high school in is fairly small, so we have a storage room in the back that can be converted into a couple classrooms and a bathroom. The cost is going to be about $250,000 to finish off and refurbish that room. And our business manager came to me the other day and said, by the way, we have all the money in to do that room. Like, where did that even come from? We have done nothing to even promote it. It's just people heard and they really want to see this happen. So I just think it starts. I'm a big relationship guy. I think everything starts with relationship. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so we established a really good reputation in our church and in our community with our grade school. So we are already known as a top quality school in town. We had that reputation already. And so people know that when we do something, we're not going to do it unless we do it well here. And so when we start talking about high school, and that was the first, you had to cast a vision of what your high school was going to look like to your stakeholders. And I would tell people, and we're in the town of Morton, Illinois. Morton is an outstanding school district, unbelievably good school district. So you have to tell people, we are not going to be a Morton High School. We're not even going to try to be a Morton High School. We're going to try to be a Christian school that does this.
Yeah, well, just an outstanding story. Let's go back to teacher curriculum. How do you do that? You're starting a school with 7, 8 students. You need curriculum. You have to have a teacher. It's hard to find teachers. Curriculum a little bit easier, but still for that small number, what do you do?
We are very locked in to going through our Lutheran school system, checking out the CMIF, all of that kind of stuff, to see what's out there, try to get them. And you always hear there's less and less teachers available now, right? So you really have to look at the resources around you. You have to see what God has already provided in your midst as far as what you can tap into. And we just got very fortunate there. So the first thing we did is we were sure that this was all going to be online all the time. We were convinced we're just going to have to bite the bullet. We know it's going to be online. We'll have a supervisory teacher present to help guide the kids, make sure they're on task. And people were okay with that. So we looked at several different online sources. Orange Lutheran has a great system out there for online learning. There's another one, I can't remember the name. I think it's in Minnesota. Has a great.
Yeah, Genesis Academy. Faith Lutheran in Las Vegas is just starting an online high school as well. So there are options, right? I mean, if you have to go entirely online, we do have some options in the Lutheran school world.
There are. They are excellent. I forget which one we were talking to, and it might not even been either of those two. But they told us you can do almost everything online, but you really have to have a face-to-face math teacher, okay? And second to that, you really should have a face-to-face science teacher. But again, you establish relationships and you start digging your resources. So one of the ladies on our feasibility study through Genesis was a part-time high school teacher at our public school here in town. And I thought, I wonder if she would be interested in maybe coming here the other part of the day and doing science for us. So I asked her, I called her on the phone, and she said, she was really like, she's a strong voice on our committee. She said, well, I'll have to think about it. I'll pray about it. But she goes, you have to know that Morton just offered me full time for next year. So I thanked her, said, thank you, knowing it wasn't going to happen. She called me the following week and said, I really prayed about this and thought about it. I'm turning in my notice to Morton. I want to be at Bethel. And I said, the congregation hasn't even voted on the high school, on the pilot program. We don't even know if they're going to okay it. And she said, that's okay. She felt she owed it to her public school to tell them. And she thought, I want to be a part of this if it's a go. And so you just really have to talk to your resources available.
Yeah, you are a very blessed man. You continue to say reasons.
I tell you that all the time.
Reasons why it can't be done. It can't be done. Oh, we can't. We'll never. And you're right. I mean, we won't get a math teacher. Won't get a science teacher. I was talking to Central Illinois District Education Executive Trip Rogers the other day, and he was saying, yeah, John is on our board, and he was saying they need $250,000 to do this renovation, and how he's going back, and this won't happen. And then he calls me the next day, and he said he had $250,000, and it was there. What you have to do with it, I think, is the important lesson. And you hit relationships, sell the vision, and be faithful. Yeah. Those three things, right? Because we don't do it. God does it. And God puts those people in the right situations, in the right places, but we have to do the work of asking and showing and telling and having that vision of how things work, and also being willing to say, God will bless a school of 12, 13, 14 students, and look at the great work that we're doing. And, if we're thinking we're going to be a school of 250 when we start, or 250 students in 2 years, and have a brand new gym and have a huge science lab and all these other things, probably not going to happen. You never say it won't, because God can do whatever.
Right.
But probably not realistic. So who are we? And what's the best program that we can provide? And we're going to definitely provide a Christ-centered education environment in that. And that is number one of who we are with a Lutheran school. And that'll be pervasive throughout. And then we'll build around that. And really, that's what you did, right?
That's exactly what we did. And what is happening because of that is just amazing. So one thing I would encourage people, and it goes back to something a comment you made a little earlier about AP classes and things like that. Well, another resource that we have tapped into is our local community college. So most of our juniors who will be juniors next year are probably spending half days at the local community college taking AP type courses, plus getting dual credits now. So they'll be earning credits towards their high school diploma, but they'll also be earning college credits at the same time, plus getting the higher level classes that we don't have the resources to do right now. So that's a huge relationship to cultivate there for anybody. And if people are considering starting a high school, I would start looking at that right now, because that takes time to cultivate.
You said community college, that's right there, and having the ability, you have the flexibility as the school with that number of students, flexibility in the schedule, and you can make these things happen and release time and bring them back in. And not only community colleges, but we have the Concordia system and dual credit programs and so many opportunities that are out there now that weren't necessarily there before. So know your community, right? Know the opportunities that might be out there in your community, whether it be community colleges and community college courses that can be incorporated with the students traveling to campus and back, or maybe even online formats, field trips like you talked about before that are out there in the community. All of those opportunities that come with knowing your surroundings and building those relationships so they're successful and can make them happen. And my guess is that the community college is probably thrilled to have your students go and take courses over there, because our students are really always incredible kids, right? Who just do amazing things and take advantage of those opportunities.
Right. And we're looking forward to having our kids have that experience. So there's two types of courses at least our community college. There are courses geared towards dual credit high school kids. So they'll actually be in these courses with other high school kids from all over the area. So they'll get to form relationships there. They'll also be exposed to things that you might think, oh no, but that gives us an opportunity to talk about apologetics with them. And okay, here's what you're seeing in your classroom. Here's what this kid next to you is talking about. How do you address that as a Christian? So it's a witnessing opportunity as well. And then there's also actual college level courses where they would be in the room with anybody from 18 years old to 60 years old. So there's opportunities that we can come back and discuss. We're already planning on, working on apologetics now with these kids to let them know about some of the things they might be running across, and how do we talk about it as Christians? How do we handle people? How do we witness to them? So it's an opportunity for us to take God's word out into those places as well, and make sure our kids have that firm footing to stand on when they do go out to those places. Because that's a big knock we heard from the people who didn't want to see the high school happen was, well, all you're doing is sheltering them. They're not going to learn about the world if they don't get to go experience it at a public high school where they're around a whole bunch of kids. Now, that's not true. There's a lot of ways to help them experience and see what's going on out there with them still being here. And then another area that is way beyond my wildest dreams at this point already is the area of sports and extracurriculars. One of the first sports we were able to offer was football, of all things, because there was a local Christian school, not local, kind of about 15 miles from here, that wanted to start an 8-man football team. They're looking for guys. So they called us, and now we have a boy or two taking part in football here in Illinois. It's an 8-man team. There's an 8-man football league here in Illinois that they can participate in. One of our girls co-ops with another Christian school in a nearby town for basketball. We're making arrangements for volleyball next year. So you kind of have to get out of the mindset of you need to have your team. There's a lot of opportunities available with other small schools, homeschool groups, things like that. We've even been asked by some public schools if we had anybody interested in co-oping on like wrestling or something like that. So all those opportunities are available if you look hard enough.
Yeah, so reach out, talk to people, discover, see what opportunities that you can provide for your students.
One thing is use your resources, find your passionate people, and they'll do the reaching out for you. Like we have one family, their child is really involved in band. They want her to be able to participate in band. And so they're making the contact for us to see what needs to be done. And then when they have kind of a dialogue established, that's when I'll get involved and see what the logistics are, the management, rules and regulations, all that kind of stuff.
We hear that a lot with school starts especially, but even just in a school in general. Well, I don't have the time, I'm already stretched so thinly and I got all these things going on. You don't always have to take it on your own.
Exactly.
It's finding the people, as you stated, are passionate about it, have a desire. Tap into your resources, have committees, ask individuals to do this work for you, and they're more than willing. Rely on that help.
And I think as administrators, we always want to be the ones, yeah, we'll do this. We can do this. It would have never gotten off the ground if I was responsible for doing all that stuff. And I think the Genesis Project has a very wise philosophy that you need to find a feasibility study director, not the principal. You need to have somebody other than the principal doing it. And that was very wise.
What excites you about the future of your high school? And to sum up, too, what are the words of wisdom for our schools that are looking at taking that next step and starting high schools?
Yeah, what I'm excited about is just continued growth, just because we're adding a grade a year. So I'm anxious to see what the junior-senior experience is with taking the college courses and the experiences they have there. I'm excited about just the people it brings in, because it's just we've had such an outpouring of wonderful people coming into our school. The advice I would give is follow God's leading, trust, listen, be realistic about what you can do, and just cast the vision of what it's going to look like and what benefit there will be, not just to the kids, not just to your school, but to your church and for the body of Christ as a whole.
Yeah, what a great ending with that right there. And I know I'm always excited to hear what's going on at Bethel and Morton, Illinois. And every time I talk to Trip Rogers, he'll say, "You won't believe what John has going on now." And he said that he needed this or that one happened, and the next thing you know, it's there.
Yeah.
So much excitement that's going on with your school. It's just a great joy to always catch up and talk with you.
Thank you.
One of the things I do ask over the next couple of years, we're going to continue to follow you as a high school.
Okay.
Thanks, John. Blessings to you and blessings to everyone at Bethel.
Hey everybody, Will from School Ministry. And if you are interested in learning more about the Genesis Project, check out the link in the video description below. And if you're looking at even starting or adding on to your existing school, definitely check us out and maybe apply, see where we can go from there. If you enjoyed today's video, maybe check out the ones that are right here. They're pretty interesting. And if you're new to our channel, maybe click this button over here so you can subscribe and always get the latest content from LCMS School Ministry. And as always, thanks for watching.